Very soon.
Blog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Comment, subscribe, share. Visit us at yadaya.com.
Oh, what an improvement. Oh, so much better. Absolutely love the new introduction, particularly with the group page. You know, it's one of the things that I have always valued is when somebody understands that the best way to make a difference in this world is to come up with a good idea and execute it well, so that you're offering something better than what others have done, and you're in a position where you're actually doing it so that people can capitalize on what you've created. And then when time permits, go back and improve it.
Mhm.
It's so much better. It was this lesson that I learned very early on in business, that if you try to be perfect and you try to continue, refine and improve what it is that you have to offer, you never, ever accomplish anything. Your whole
Yeah.
life is in spinning your wheels, trying to create this illusionary perfect thing, and you can never get there, and therefore you never offer anything in your life that matters. It's it's the confidence to go off with something that you know is good, that it's thoughtful, that you've worked at it, you're pleased with it, and then you'll stand behind it and begin to promote it, but never be satisfied, always improving as you go. It reminds me of Kala, one of Yahweh's very favorite terms
Yeah.
about finishing, completing, staying with it. It is the thing I think he's most interested with us.
Mhm.
And so maybe I'm making a really big deal of it, but the fact is that we've made two real significant improvements on that introduction. And the second
Yeah.
one we saw today with the group shot. So thank you for all who participated in that. I think it's a lovely expression of what we're about. And Roger, this, I think, your second time to see yourself in it and as an avatar.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's cool. It is fun, isn't it? You know, I don't think we ever get too old just to have fun, and it's really a fun way to go about it. We're going to talk about a lot of subjects here today. The first subject we're going to turn to is the conspiracy cult of Christianity. Now, most people don't think of Christianity as a conspiracy or as a cult, and yet Christianity began as a cult of personality around Paul. He wrote the first 14 books of the Christian New Testament. His first was Galatians in 52 CE, 20 years after the fact. And he wasn't even in Jerusalem at the time the events took place with the fulfillment of Pesach. And he created a fraud. He even admitted he was demon-possessed while he was doing it. And his fraud was to counterfeit the actual Messiah, the actual Son of God, who actually fulfilled Pesach in 33 CE while being crucified by the Romans. The actual Messiah and chosen one, who is our Savior, is Dowd. People know him as David, but those who call him David probably don't know him. He's the most interesting person in the story because he's the firstborn son of God, and the whole story from beginning to end, even in the garden, revolves around him. Paul used identity theft, literally stole everything that pertains to Dowd to create his myth of Jesus Christ. And then he borrowed heavily from Dionysus, which was the most popular god amongst the Romans and the Greeks at the time, to create his religion. And he's the one who coined the term gospel. He's the one who invented the name Iesu Christou, which later became Jesus Christ. And he not only wrote the first 14 books of the Christian New Testament, but the next 3 were written by his pack, his propagandists, and Mark, and then Luke, and the books of Acts also by Luke. They were written around 75 CE. thing that people don't recognize with Paul, and I want to make two statements, then we'll look at the first slide here. First is that Paul claims to have been appointed by God, and yet throughout his letters, he misquotes God at every occasion. He never once quotes from the Torah, prophets, and Psalms accurately. Every single citation is not only a misrepresentation of what was said, but it is a gross corruption of what was said, so that his position is the opposite of what God actually said. He did it 100 times or more. Every single time, without exception, Paul misquotes God. Now, you cannot speak for God and constantly misquote God. And his basic theme is that God, through his Torah and prophets, could not save anyone, so that he gave up and Paul, who was admittedly a sexual pervert, a demon-possessed, murderous man, and told Paul, you go fix this for me. I'll appoint you to be the spokesperson to the world to contradict me and to come up with, but I, Paul, say. And that is the essence of Christianity. And if you don't recognize it, shame on you, because it is. The second thing is that he claims to have been chosen to speak for and to represent his Iousu Christou, who has been named Mr. Christ in subsequent years. And yet, do you know how many times he quotes him?
None. Not once.
Zero. Right. So if you claim to represent somebody and you never once quote them, never once, you don't represent them. You represent yourself.
Bad Bashar.
Bad
Bashar.
He is a bad, evil man. All right. So this first slide is a Christian trying to prove their religion by having, Jesus walk out of the tomb, this giant stone. And there he is. So that's their proof. Now, let's just get real here. There was no one named Jesus in the first century in Roman-occupied Yehuda. None. In fact, there wasn't a person named Jesus until the 17th century. That's a fact. There was no Mr. Christ. There's no prophecy about an arriving Christ, and there was no Mr. Christ. It's a Greek title based upon Christos, which means to be drugged, to apply drugs. No such thing. The Passover lamb, by his own admission and the prophecies that he wrote about it, is David. This myth that there was a Jesus who was crucified has no substance whatsoever. And you want to talk about a bodily resurrection. What's the purpose of that? The Egyptians believed in bodily resurrection, and they proved it to be false, didn't they? So did Genghis Khan. He's still buried. So did every one of the Babylonian kings and the Assyrian kings, all of the pharaohs. It is pagan nonsense. And the problem, of course, that you have is that if he was not the Passover lamb, then he was a complete phony. And if he was the Passover lamb, then he can't come back to life, because the remains of the Passover lamb, the body of it, are incinerated that night. And you have somebody walking out of your alleged tomb here that doesn't have a single wound from having been scourged to near death and then crucified. So what body is that? And if it's a fake body, then what's the purpose of bodily resurrection? And why, even in your New Testament, which is a pile of BS, is the only common denominator between the three accounts of him walking out of alleged tomb, is that the three accounts, no one recognized him.
We're back to that again. Who do you say I am?
Yeah, nobody recognized it. It's such an obvious fraud. And of course, if a man who had been crucified by the Romans isn't documented by the Romans, and it's a special event that it takes place on, of all things, the holiday of Passover in an occupied territory, and there isn't a single independent or contemporaneous witness to it. And then you want the world to believe that this crucifixion victim that no one has bothered to even mention, and there is no contemporaneous record of anything pertaining to his life, not a single eyewitness account pertaining to anything in his life, I mean, you can't clout Josephus because he wasn't even born at the time.
Mhm.
No one, not a single written note regarding him, not a single letter. In the most literate society in the world, not a single etching in stone, nothing. And then you want to believe that said man comes back to life, and there's not a single mention of it anywhere.
Mhm.
And you want to claim that there was an eclipse of the sun on Passover. How could you be so stupid? Does anybody think in Christianity? Apparently not. Because you can have a lunar eclipse on a full moon, which is when Passover occurs. You can never have a solar eclipse on Passover. You can have one 2 weeks earlier than that, but never on Passover under any circumstances. You just can't be that stupid. But Christianity is a cult of personality by Paul, and it is nothing but a conspiracy to rob God's actual firstborn son, the Messiah and our Savior, of everything that pertains to him. It's the worst crime ever committed. So breaking news, the tomb is only empty because there was no one in it.
Yeah. What did Paul's Jebus do on the most important day of Chag Matzah?
He took a nap.
He took a nap.
Chag Matzah is the 7-day holiday. It's not Passover. Passover is just the first day of Chag Matzah. The most important part of it, in the way God says don't ever celebrate Passover alone without Chag Matzah, is because if you were to benefit from Passover, your soul becomes immortal, but you're still enveloped in all of your religious guilt, which means you're immortal but separated from God. That means your soul goes to hell. That's a really bad outcome. So God says don't do it. So the most important day happens to be Matzah. And on Matzah is when Dod's Nefesh soul carried our guilt into Sheol so that we would be relieved of it and could enter God's presence. The mythical Jesus took a nap in his tomb, allegedly, on Matzah. The whole thing is a pile of disgusting lies that is so easily disproved. And I have disproved it using by just comparing what the numbskulls who created the Christian New Testament wrote compared to what God wrote. I set one next to the other. They claim they were inspired by that God, and they contradicted God on every possible occasion. So it proves emphatically that Christianity is false. And there is no way for anyone to refute the evidence in the 5 volumes of Christianity, all of which are, there they are. There's the first 3 of them. There's 5 of them, and they are all available free at yadayah.com. Those books are absolutely irrefutable. There is no possibility that any Christian can read those 5 books and remain a Christian. None. So I would encourage you to read them as opposed to promoting the myth that a myth walked out of a tomb and that the tomb is empty. It is an absolute lie.
Wow. Well, a failed rabbi takes a cue from Tammuz and creates a new Isu, just following along that same thing. And it's a little wonder why, Dionysus and Bacchus were formed against that. You're plowing fertile field there.
Yes.
And once Rome got its hooks in it,
Yeah, in fact, almost everything in Christianity is a regurgitated Babylonian, Assyrian, Egyptian paganism. The Trinity is, the cross is, the Son of God being a god is, the death on the vernal equinox and then the conception. So it's that 9 months later you would have the birth of the Son of the Sun. Church steeples, halos. I mean, Christmas, Easter, all of it is pagan, and it comes from Babylon. So what they did is just simply usurp the most popular religions so that they could appeal to all of the pagans around them, and they just use different words, different names to apply to pagan mythological lies. Christianity is the dumbest mass hallucination perpetrated on humanity.
Yeah.
I think the only, I don't know if this, maybe call it semi-credible, but Tacitus has a one-line statement written 300 or 400 years after the fact where a Crustacean was crucified by one of our constables, Pontius Pilate.
Yes. 400 years after the fact. That is not a contemporary eyewitness. And of course, he's saying it because at that point, Constantine and Eusebius in the 4th century had essentially made Christianity the religion of the realm. And so at this point, it is appropriate for a Roman to promote the religion that Imperial Rome is going to use to subjugate the world. So no, that's hardly an evidence. No, there is none. I mean, there really is none. And the actual Christian New Testament is rubbish from beginning to end. It is so poorly constructed, so filled with the contradictions and lies that it's laughable that there are people who believe this rot, and it is absolute rot. And speaking of rot, it doesn't get any more rotten than this rot. So this fellow here, he is speaking. You can play just a little bit of it, just people get some feel of it.
Give me just a second. I gotta.
Okay. While he is doing that, what this fellow is doing is he is trying to convince Muslim boys that they will have. You can play it at any time. I'll talk over it. He's trying to convince them that if they die as a suicide bomber or as a jihadist, that they're going to have all of these virgins in paradise. And as the Quran says, these virgins don't menstruate. They don't have saliva. They don't have mucus. They don't have urine, and they don't poop. They're non-pooping virgins. And you, as a former jihadist, are going to have the sexual power of 100 men to rape them on whenever you wish to, because they're your slaves in paradise, and they're the reward for you going off and killing people and raping them in this world. So, if you are stupid enough to believe that, then there really is no hope for you as a person. But what's really amazing is that it is obvious that Muhammad lied. I've written 5 volumes to prove that Muhammad lied. You probably have the 5 volumes that you could put up there as a quick shot. That is the Goddamn Religion series. I use only Muhammad's and Allah's words. I put the Quran in chronological order, set in the context of Muhammad's life using the Hadith. And so it is the most comprehensive and chronological and textual and best documented presentation of the religion of Islam ever written. And there is no one who knows Allah or Muhammad better than I do, or the first Muslims. And the irrefutable conclusion is that Allah is not a God. He is in fact Satan. That Muhammad was not a prophet. He never got a single prophecy correct. And he was the most vile man who ever lived. Trump is trying to move him over to second position at this point. And they're still battling Paul as a pretty vile fellow as well. But Muhammad was a serial pedophile. He was incestuous. He was a serial rapist. He was a mass murderer. He was a liar. He was a slave trader. He was a terrorist. He was an overall thug. And thugs don't typically make really good spokespeople for God. And he wasn't. And he has a religion that follows his example. And as his example was that of a pedophile, incestuous rapist, who was a mass murdering terrorist and slave trader and a liar. So why should we expect the result to be any different today? Because they're in Islam, whatever Muhammad said and did is Sharia, it's law. I said he couldn't be more reprehensible than he was. But the real question is, why did 2 billion people still believe this stupidity? Really, what's wrong with the 2 billion Muslims on this planet believing this stupidity when it is so easily disproven? And, go to yadayah.com, read the 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion. It is also absolutely and unequivocally irrefutable. All I use is Muhammad's and Allah's words to disprove them. Why did 6 billion people tolerate this religion? It's worse than cancer.
Back in Muhammad's day, it was a fear of execution by the sword. Today, it's just following the crowd mostly, and there's still violence associated with not being a Muslim in some countries.
Of course, yeah, they kill most people like me for exposing their religion. I've had thousands of death threats, so it's just part of it. If you're going to have the courage to expose and condemn Islam, particularly with evidence and reason, they're going to come after you, and they do. But I think our biggest issue today is that Marxists have formed an alliance with Muslims. It's the dumbest alliance and probably in human history. But that alliance began with Hitler and the Grand Mufti when they agreed that there wouldn't be an exile of Jews after robbing them in Europe, but they would be exterminated was the result of that. And Marxists and Muslims have been together ever since. You look at the Democratic Party in America, they're pro-Islam and they're 70% Marxists. It's a travesty that what has happened to the human mind, because Marxism is a completely failed economic and political scheme that has never worked anywhere and has been disastrous every place that it has been tried. In the last century, it has been responsible for the deaths of nearly 200 million people and a world war. Islam in the first 100 years murdered 200 million people, which was a third of the Earth's population in its first 100 years. So the two deadliest human notions ever invented. And they have merged together in what is something that is just tragic.
It is that, yeah. Wow.
I read this like a couple of times. Say what? Maybe you can make sense of the quote, but down there at the bottom it says James 2:12. Was there a person in first century province of Yehuda under Roman control named James?
No.
There probably was a person named Jacob. He would not have been a disciple, but he would have been Dode's brother, and he would have spoken on behalf of the Torah and never and against Paul. I know Paul's mantra is what the book of James allegedly attacks, but he didn't become James until the King Iam's version was renamed in 1629 the King James Version, because they invented the letter J, and to kiss up to the despotic king, they changed the name of the alleged disciple from Jacob to James, just to kiss the tush of the English king. That's how disgusting all of this is. So there was no James, and by the way, there was no Jesus either.
Well, the Torah, T-O-R-H, that's rabbinical. And there's nothing in freedom about rabbinical. Rabbinical is not about freedom. It's about bowing to the rabbis. If you want to have freedom, you got to go to the Torah, T-O-W-R-A-H.
Correct. And the wah in Torah is essential. That's where the O sound comes from. And it was this corruption by rabbis over the years and their Shiva system, which is named fraudulent. That's what the Hebrew word means. Shiva. That Shiva system was designed to corrupt the nature of the Hebrew alphabet. And so they removed letters, replaced letters with other sounds just to obfuscate, particularly the pronunciation of Yahweh's name. And Torah, like Shalom, is written with a Wah. And the W is what conveys the O sound in Torah. It's the Wah that conveys the O sound in Yahweh's name. And so when you're looking at Torah without the Wah, that's a rabbinic corruption. And oh, by the way, the rabbis don't use Torah to describe the book that was inspired by Yahweh and written by Moshe. They use it to describe the books that were written by the rabbis, also known as the Talmud.
Yeah, this one's a head scratcher. I have no idea what they're trying to say.
And
here,
what is a
you know,
Bible Jewish?
it's
What is a Bible Jewish?
Yes.
First of all, Bible is based upon the Hebrew word Babel. Babel is the name of Babylon, and it means to intermix and confuse. So to commingle truth and lies, to confound, is the term Babel. Bible is Babel. It is a horrid term. God does not have a Bible or a Babel. And Jewish did not exist until the 17th century. So there is no Jewish.Bible at all. It is not complete, not incomplete, not Jewish, and not Bible. I mean, every bit of that is wrong. There is a Torah, prophets, and Psalms inspired by Yahweh, but it is not a Bible, and it is not Jewish. It's Yahweh's. So it's just made this stuff that is shoved down people's throats on the feeds of the likes of X, with the AI Grok running oversight and being utterly stupid. I mean, Grok doesn't have a clue on any of this. Grok is running an operation where the only thing that is absolutely and totally approved are lies. You can lie all you want, and he'll promote it, or it will promote it. Well, look at the Tates.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most popular sites on X, and they are absolute scum. Look at Tucker Carlson, demon-possessed, lines, anti-Semitic scumbag that's bribed by Qatar. Very popular. It's a shame what X has become.
Yeah. This is a quintessential example of where more Babel is better for the religious. I mean, if we can
Yeah,
throw
this is a full
as
spread
much-
of Babel right here.
Yeah, right. Let's commingle it all together. I mean,
Quintessential smorgasbord of Babel. He's jealous because we started the word of the day, and quintessential seemed.
I mean, I can't spell it. I can't spell it. But
I'll
you
work
did a
that
nice
one in.
You did a nice one working it into the conversation. That's it. What good is the word of the day if you can't work it in? Okay, so this is another post. People just are really up in arms, particularly on X, hating Israel. Hating Israel has become the cause celeb on social media, and particularly on X. Largely, I think, because of the founder, not founder, but the owner of X is anti-Semitic as well. Certainly, he's a racist based upon his posts, and a promoter of he's kind of like a carnival hawker as it relates to his promotions of nonsense. Speaking, of course, of Elon Musk, but end all aid to Israel. Okay, you can do that, but if you want to do that, give them the Sinai back.
Mm-hmm.
Take the time to understand why the United States went into an agreement where they began providing military aid under huge restrictions to Egypt and to Israel. And when you do that, you'll recognize that it was part of the Camp David Accords, that Israel, during the 6 Days War, had defeated the accumulated Islamic armies poised against it. And they were not only took the Sinai, not only took most of Syria, they were in the position with one more day, they would have taken Cairo and Damascus. And so in the Muslims all conspired, this now the second of 3 times that they would do this in succession, to exterminate all Jews and eliminate the nation of Israel. They were entitled to what they conquered, which was the Sinai. But America's CIA and its State Department and the like have a very simple equation as to how they operate. And the way that they manage regime change and dealings internationally is who's buying U.S. weapons and how much of those weapons are they buying. So Egypt was buying Russian weapons. And the United States wanted Egypt to start buying American weapons. And the easiest way to do that was to convince Israel to give Egypt back the Sinai. And if Israel agreed to give Egypt back the Sinai, Egypt agreed to start buying American weapons as opposed to Russian weapons. And the Americans agreed to spend this amount of money with huge restrictions on Israel, where the actual allocations to Israel are more favorable to the United States than they are to Israel, because Israel has to further develop all of those weapon systems and then freely offer to America all of the advancements they have made on those weapon systems. And they're much more efficient at it than is America. So my think is, okay, you want to end that deal? Then go back to how the deal was formed, and you give Israel back the Sinai. And when you give Israel back the Sinai, they can move all of the Muslims out of Israel and put them into the Sinai. And then it's a win-win for everybody. But start at the beginning. Know your history. Act morally and appropriately.
And it's not even a bad deal for Israel, because none of the American weapon systems work worth a crap anymore anyway.
They don't.
So-
Yeah, the F-35 is the most overpriced piece of crap in the history of military boondoggles. The Patriot missile system is a complete and inept fraud at this point and does not work. The THAAD is so damn expensive that it can't be used. America lost a war to the Houthis. And prior to losing to the Houthis, America lost to the Taliban.
Mhm.
And prior to that, it lost a war to the Shia militias in Iran, or in Iraq. Well, they came from Iran, but in Iraq. We turned Libya into a den of thieves. We lost a war in Syria, where the Islamic State is now in control. The United States we're playing a proxy war against Russia and Ukraine that's going to turn into World War III. We are really, really bad at it, and have lost the Iran war like 10 times over and can't figure out how to get out of it. We've lost all of our bases in the Middle East because we can't defend them, and no one even tried to defend them. So, yeah, it would be a win-win for Israel to be totally separate from the United States, to disengage entirely from Trump, who's the great betrayer anyway,
Mhm.
to wean itself off of U.S. weapons, to stop engaging by killing everybody around them. This is really counterproductive, and to get the Sinai back, hugely in Israel's interest.
It would be. Yes.
Here's Jesus at the dock, saving a little girl. I want to tell you something that is hugely immoral, because little girls who fall into raging seas are not going to be saved by Jesus. Jesus never saved anybody, ever. And Romans is the second worst book in the entire Christian New Testament, or in their Bible. The only thing worse is Galatians. And everything in it from beginning to end is a lie. And just think of it for a moment. He's writing a book in Rome to the Roman Empire, which is the second worst beast of the succession of beasts that God condemns. He says they're the most vicious of all. No beast was ever more vicious than Imperial Rome. He's writing to Imperial Rome at the height of Imperial Roman power. And he's actually praising the Roman government, saying that government in Rome was inspired by God and you need to submit to it, when it is the single worst government ever pursuant to Israel. No one ever did more harm to Israel than that Roman government that he is praising. And the only institution worse than Rome from God's point of view is the beast that metastasized out of Rome, the Roman Catholic Church. And he is telling people to obey them, to submit to them. He's also creating a new covenant when there's only one covenant, and he's promoting the lie that the old covenant enslaved while his new covenant frees. A gross lie. It is in this book that Paul admits that he's a sexual pervert, but he says, you wouldn't have known. I would never have known that I was a sexual pervert if it hadn't been for the Torah describing what sexual perversion is, which means that he had to either be into pedophilia, incest, rape, or bestiality, because those are the things that the Torah claims are inappropriate sexually. He said, I wouldn't have been a sexual pervert because no one would have known I was a sexual pervert if it hadn't been for the Torah, which describes me as a sexual pervert. So I hate the Torah. Christians, you need to recognize that there is no Jesus, that Paul lied about everything, and it's Paul that founded your religion. Jesus wrote nothing, not a word. Which means, by the way, not only is his name incongruent with anybody who lived during that time and for the 16th centuries following that time, and not only was his title not applied to anybody at that time or in 16 centuries after that time, he didn't write anything. Everyone that serves Yahweh writes, and they write a lot. He wrote nothing. He's a fraud.
Yeah. His top guy, Dode, wrote more than anybody else. Those are the most scrolls that we have from Qumran.
Yeah, Yeshua and Dode, and then third to that would be Moshe's Torah. So the Torah, Dode, and Yeshua, the big three in terms of the Dead Sea Scrolls. They wrote a lot. I know somebody that wrote even more than they did combined. They wrote a lot.
Didn't Shaul die in a Roman prison?
We don't know actually anything about Paul's death other than what Paul himself says. The rest of it's all in fables and the like. But according to him, he was arrested by Rome. Now, he used Rome as his protector. He couldn't use God as his protector. So the whole time he was writing, and people were mocking him because what he was saying was utter nonsense. I mean, he was creating blood libels against his own people, Jews. He accused Jews of murdering his God. Now, let's be clear, folks. God is not a man, and men cannot kill God. So if you start there, you realize that Paul's whole theory was completely absurd. But nevertheless, there's enough stupid people in the world to believe that God became a man, impossible, or that men killed God, impossible, or that Jews were the ones who were responsible for crucifying this mythical God when Jews never crucified anyone. But the Romans actually did, who Paul wrote this book on behalf of. I mean, talk about stupid. But, this whole thing is just a pile of regurgitated, absurd craziness and lies. But I'm astonishing that people believe it. And here, if that's you, put Amen. Amen is the name of the Egyptian god, Tutankhamen. I mean, it's an Egyptian god, for crying out loud. And this idea that God died, that men could kill God, or that bodily resurrection is a positive thing. The whole concept of what God is offering us is to replace our physical bodies such that they're surrounded by light and energy. The exact opposite of what he is saying here. It's tragic. Yep, old Trump. Well, he's the slap happiest guy, man. He is slapping another 50% tariffs on any, all caps, on any. Okay, well, what any means any. That's what any means. Country supplying Iran with military weapons. Because we know that all goods that sold the United States will have this tariff, and all means all. That's all means. And I hope there will be no exclusions or exemptions, except for China, of course, which would be the primary supplier of the said
Mhm.
weapons, because the fact that last time that Donald J. Trump put tariffs on China, he had to remove them all because China says that's just fine, no problem. Well, we're good with that. Of course, we won't be shipping you any more rare earths. We won't be shipping you any more computers. We won't be shipping you any more advanced parts for your cars. We won't be buying your soybeans, by the way, either. But good luck with that, because your factories won't run. Your Defense Department will shut down. You'll have nothing. So go ahead, play that game. See how it works out for you. Oh, by the way, we'll dispose of your treasury bonds, which will put you into default. But go ahead and play that game. Trump, you played that game before. Didn't you learn anything when you played that game and you lost? And so somebody wants to promote this as a positive. I mean, come on. How again, between politics and religion, and academic indoctrination, we've lost 90% of the people out there.
Yeah, and with regards to Iran, this is just another example of them just throwing something up against the wall to see if it sticks. They are so bumfuddled by what's going on in Iran. They have no idea what to do there. I mean, so let's get a headline that we're still winning in Iran. We're doing something. Tariffs. So we'll take down their military.
We're doing something, boy. This is going to be. This will be the answer here, because the Guardians of the Sea didn't work, and Project Freedom Navigation didn't work, and we've declared victory like 30 times, and that didn't work. And then we agreed to their 10-point plan, and then got there and said, "Oh man, now that we've read it, oops." And then we actually signed an agreement with their 14-point plan as a memorandum of understanding, and violated it the next day. By the plan says that all shipments through the strait are controlled by Iran. That's what the memorandum says. And so Trump decided the next day that he would breach the memorandum and sneak tankers through a different route without the oversight of the Iranians. And the Iranians responded and said, well, no, that's against the agreement. And when Trump violated the agreement, then he blamed Iran for violating the agreement. He started pounding Iran again, which was a violation of the agreement.
Yeah.
And now you're saying that nope, Iran cannot defend themselves. It is morally pure for us to pound them. We're going to pound them into oblivion. We're going to eliminate the entire civilization and culture, and that's good. But anybody that helps defend them from us, that's bad. Tariff.
Yeah, there has been a very systematic increase in the activity around Bandar Abbas in the last 3 days. All their bombs taking out the railroad bridges. They're trying to isolate that area. That's where they're going ashore. It won't be long. I think that they're softening up Bandar Abbas to put boots on the ground there and take that along with Karg Island. And it's going to fail horribly.
I'm really put in a compromised position here, and sometimes you just have to speak from the heart. There is nobody who is more aware of the great harm that Islam has done to the world than I am. No one has written the kind of books that I have on Islam. And so I'm a billion times more aware of the consequence of Muhammad and Allah and Islam than anyone you're ever going to be able to listen to. I know the religion better than anyone, including any Islamic imam. And therefore, I understand the consequence of what Islam did to the Persian Empire. And how devastating that has been. And, I'm the one person who can say I made a difference in Persia, because the first version of goddamn religion is called Prophet of Doom. And it was read per capita far more in Iran than any other place in the world. And it had a profound effect on turning Iranians away from Shia Islam into agnosticism. And I'm very proud of that accomplishment. Now, that said, in this conflict, it's America and Israel who are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Iran did not have a bomb because they did not want a bomb. They wanted to be in a position where if they had to have a bomb to defend themselves, they could. And America killed the leader who prevented Iran from having a bomb. We murdered him. Iran refined uranium to the point that they could have a bomb in a week's time, should they need one, without actually developing one. And they were in that position for 20 years and didn't develop a bomb. But now they've been put in a position where they have no choice but to complete the bomb, and they probably have already done it. That was stupid. But I also think that that bombing civilian infrastructure and killing girls at school and wiping out the leaders of a country thinking you're going to get regime change and there's no chance of that is grossly immoral. And so I'm compromised in the sense that I know what America has done is wrong. What Israel did was wrong. It was counterproductive for Israel, counterproductive for America. And long before America did this and Israel did this, I was begging both not to do it, with hundreds of posts and books saying, don't do this, because if you do it, it will be to your demise. There is no way to end this war if you start it, and it will ultimately destroy you. America economically through the demise of the petrodollar, Israel through causing Iran to do what it's prophesied to do, march 4 million Muslims into Israel and wreak havoc with the place. So it hurts me to say that I'm actually in favor of Donald Trump being stupid enough to up the ante in this war with boots on the ground. That hurts me to say, because it's the dumbest thing that could possibly be done. America may well be able to take Krog Island and others. It cannot hold them. And the cost of doing so will be catastrophic. And the tendency for mission creep, because that is mission creep, that's mission leap actually, is then you'll have to leap onto the mainland of Iran and charge up those hills. And you're going to lose aircraft and you're going to lose men. And the men that are on those islands are going to be bombarded with drones, swarms, and artillery and missiles and the like. And that it has been Iran that understands the psychosis of Trump that has played Trump into this, just like the Iranians have played Netanyahu into this, because it enabled Iran to checkmate Israel, which they have done. That was the point of the memorandum of understanding. It checkmates Israel. Checkmate is mean you lost, the game's over. And so now they're trying to taunt Trump into invading. That's what they want him to do, because that plays into every strength that the Iranians have. And so why would I root for such a thing? Because my mission is to do something, our mission, gentlemen, is to do something that is so close to being impossible that any rational person would call it impossible apart from working for Yahweh. We're trying to awaken Israel after 4,000 years of being comatose and inhospitable to God. Israel for 4,000 years has been overtly opposed to God and has been unreceptive to him while they've been belligerent as a people. It's 4,000 years of that. And the only thing that's going to save a remnant of Israel is to have no other option, where their backs up are against the wall. They recognize their rabbis have failed them, their politicians have failed them, their IDF has failed them, and that there's only one place to turn, and they're going to finally turn. But it's going to be a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of them. The range probably at 1,500 in the final remnant. And the two harvests between them are going to be very lean. So the job is almost impossible. That's how difficult it is. And Jews are going to be belligerent right to the end. That unless they counter that kind of torment. And that's where this is going. The U.S. invades Iran. Iran will not only defeat America in Iran and destroy America's credibility worldwide, they will respond by marching 4 million men into Israel, right through Iraq, which America gave them by invading Iraq, and really what was a terrible decision, making a bad situation worse. They'll go right through Syria, with Turkey providing the air cover with their new F-35s. Israel's doomed. They've been checkmated. And this next step just brings that closer. I have heretofore been unwilling to predict that America would put troops on the ground. And the reason is twofold. My mission is to explain what's happening in the world that keeps people from knowing Yahweh and puts Yisrael at risk. The prophets had a lot to say about those things, and based upon today's events and what the prophets have said, I can deduce many things that are accurate regarding this, and have written a series of books. For example, this one, The Time of Troubles, 825 pages, that is exclusively on this material, on what's going to happen over the next 7 years. So I know a lot, and have shared a lot. But I'm also careful because my track record on this has been essentially perfect. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of predictions, and they've all come true as I have said they would. So I know who Trump is, that he is Rahab, he is the Antichrist, he is the great betrayer of Israel. And I know what he's going to do and what he's going to do it pursuant to Israel. I have thought that it was likely that Trump would become so frustrated with his loss in Iran that he would succumb to the next step, which is to put boots on the ground. But it's insane to do so. And so the question is he sufficiently insane, and are the military leaders that are under him such wimps that they have no character and they will do what is against the best interest of their troops? And I think it is a fool's folly to try to predict what a fool is going to do. And Trump is that fool. So I can't tell you if it's going to happen. I can tell you that all signs indicate that he will be that stupid. And the consequence is going to be catastrophic for the world.
Well, he's at least that antagonistic, arrogant. And you add that with stupidity, you got a pretty toxic brew there.
And combine that with a satanic spirit.
Yeah.
It's a bad combination. He is the person that the prophet spoke about, that would be demon possessed by Satan, that would be the great betrayer of Israel and so destructive to the world at this time. And it's not even close in terms of whether or not he is that person. It's overwhelmingly obvious he is that person. And so this is what we're all up against. And America is the great betrayer. America is the country responsible for ultimately checkmating Israel into positions where it's eviscerated and becomes indefensible. And we're witnessing that happen. And we're in the time of troubles. We entered the time of troubles on May 22nd of this year, which was Shavuot. So we're 2 months in now to the time of troubles, and things are happening exactly as the prophets had foretold. So this would be a dramatic step, and it would be catastrophic for America if it happens.
Yeah, we have a very solid history of throwing good money after bad. You look at the World War II, the invasion of the bombing of Pearl Harbor. We're just now starting to see American casualties, the two now that are in Jordan from the military bases, and their pictures are being put up on social media. Oh, this little girl was killed by Iran, right? That there's going to be some heartstring and some.
She wasn't killed by Iran. She's killed by Trump.
Yeah, well, you and I know this, but their intention is to rile up the American people a little, so that they're a little more okay with this boots on the. We're going to go get those Iranians for real this time. Enough taking the gloves off. We're putting boots on the ground, right? It's coming.
Let's go kick some Iranian ass.
Yeah.
So says the Trump talker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The spin doctors are working overtime on this stuff.
Oh, they really are. Between Fox and Newsmax and the mega influencers and the bots on X and the like, it's repulsive out there, and sadly, most people can't think. I mean, it's this was so proven in the Ukraine proxy war against Russia, where the evidence is ubiquitous. It's undeniable that America started that war going back 20 years ago, and yet 80% of Americans blame Putin and Russia for instigating the war that America sought. And America has even bragged, particularly Senator Lindsey Graham, bragged that the best investment America ever made was giving weapons to Ukrainians to go kill Russians. It's just despicable what America has become. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to have formerly been an American.
Yeah, you had a post earlier today on the vlog page. I think it was a Waters clip or something about we were just too darn good, too efficient at killing the Iranian leadership that now we can't get a deal, gosh darn it, because there's no Iranian deals to, and I was just like, how stupid can you get? You
killed the Ayatollah, who was a really evil man, but he was vastly more moderate than is his son, who grew up in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, who has already fought wars against America as America gave weapons to Saddam Hussein to go attack Iran. He's already fought in those wars. He's fought against American weaponry. And now he murdered his daughter, his wife, his father, and mutilated him, and turned the entire country with what's called the dead hand into a perpetual fighting and defending machine that will never surrender. The best deal that America will ever get is the one that it violated in the Memorandum of Understanding, which was a complete surrender by the United States. That is the best deal that America could have ever gotten, which is surrender. And with every day that goes by, it gets worse.
Yeah. Pack it up and go home.
Yeah, there's this Ernst fellow is hardly anything but that. But a lot of tragedies associated with this. First of all, it was a regional flood, according to God and according to the history of it. Therefore, there were not any elements, rhinoceroses or zebras in the group, because they would have come from Africa, and this was up between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, Mesopotamia, up into between the Caspian and the Black Seas, and then out into the Mediterranean. And the proof of it is overwhelming. We have the Burkle impact crater that caused it. We have the 12 foot of sediment all the way up through that region. You have the Black Sea rising 500 feet and going from fresh water to salt water at that instant. So there is absolute, irrefutable evidence that it occurred exactly when God said it occurred and how God said it occurred, because he actually said it would be a deep upwelling of seawater that would cause this. The location of the ark has been found. That you can use Google Earth and you can actually see it. I have looked at the evidence because the man who went there to verify it from a satellite, not a satellite, but from a Turkish pilot's picture, brought back the metallurgy and pieces of the wood that was used to build it. The purpose of it wasn't to save animals. The purpose of it was to save the Nasalma man experience. Nasalma men, when we became many, became so disgusting that God said, I regret having created humanity, and wanted to foreclose that story. And the only reason that we exist today is because of one man, Noach. Noach, at the time that God made this statement, was in heaven with God. And they looked down and they saw it, and that's when God said, I wish I hadn't created humanity. And I cannot tell you if it was Noach or Yahweh who came up with the solution. It's probably Yahweh, and he shared it with Noach, but they were of like mind, and Noach was willing to do it. And so it's Noach who saved Nasalma man with 8 Nasalma equipped. That's a conscience in addition to consciousness aboard the Teba, which is the name of the vessel called Vessel of Insights, Teba. And now I can say something even more controversial than this, which is that I know it to be true because I was there. I built the damn thing. So there you have it. The proof is overwhelming that it occurred. It's undeniable that it occurred. But people will believe anything, I guess. As for me, I don't believe. I either know and I don't know, and in this case, I know a lot. Yep, it was a Teba. I built it on Yahweh's instructions to give Nasalma man a second chance. And it's one that, Ernst, you've squandered, as have most humans. I stumbled into something yesterday, such that I didn't sleep really very well last night because of it. I have shared with you that that the human experiment of God breathing a Nasalma conscience into a specific animal and creating his firstborn, Adam, who later is known as Dode, that Yahweh recognized that one man didn't measure up to what he needed to empower to 7 dimensions to go off and explore the universe with him. And that 2, when he added Chawa, became terrible. And that when they became 4, they became murderous. And when they became more, God says they were evil all of the time in every situation, in every possible way. And that the evil that was collective in the human experience was unmanageable, unsalvageable. And so it is Noach who was inserted into that situation to save humanity. There is a second story like that. Are you familiar with what is written and what the book would be called Judges, but it's Shaphat, in the 19th chapter, 18th, 19th chapter, right to the very end of the book. It's the story of a Lowy who has this fascination with adding a woman to his pool of women. I don't know how many he had, but she would have certainly been no closer to first than she had to be second or later. She is referred to as a prostitute. She's either a concubine or paramour, which means that it was a polygamous marriage. No big deal. God didn't care about that. She decided to run away, and she figured that what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If he can have multiple lovers, then so can she. And so she engaged with somebody else, but it was a pay-for-play situation, and making her a prostitute. And she ran to Dad, and when the Lowy decided he wanted her back, Dad had celebrated, saying, "Oh my God, hey girl, this is the best thing could possibly happen to you. You need to go off and be with this man." They wined and dined him for 4 nights, and he goes on his way with his prize toy. They get to Geba on the way back. And when they arrive in Geba, there's no one that will invite them into their home, so they're out there going to spend the night in the courtyard. And the story progresses. There's a man who was from Ephraim, not a Benjamite, that says, "Oh well, what the heck? I'll invite you. You can come to my home." He said, "Oh well, that's the hero of the story. So there's a good guy in the story." No, he's a piece of shit, as was the Lowy, piece of crap. As the story developed, they're having a nice meal, and the people of Geba, the Benjamites, start pushing in and banging down the door. And this piece of crap that invited them into his home goes out and says, "No, don't do this terrible thing," because they wanted to know, in a sexual sense, the Lowy who would come into town. So, "No, don't do this terrible thing. That's sick. That's really abusive. That's an obnoxious thing to do. Here, I have a virgin daughter. Take her instead." And by the way, he came in with a paramour. You can have her. Do whatever you want to with her. Rape her if you want. You think rape's good? Go ahead, rape her.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lowy, charming as he was, he uses shazak to say that he grasped hold of her in a overpowering way. He drug her out to the street, tossed her to the Benjamites, and went in and went to bed. And they raped her all night long. They raped her to death.
Mm-hmm.
He gets up the next morning, opens the door, damn near trips over, heading back home, and he sees her there on the ground. He says, "Stand up. I want to go." She's dead. He hauls her back home, and with a butcher knife, he cuts her into 12 pieces, distributes those pieces all over Israel. Starts a civil war. It's the most despicable story in all of Israel. It's worse than the story in Sodom and Gomorrah. Do you know what story follows that one?
We go directly into Ruth, don't we? At the end of Shabbat
We do.
Judges, we go directly into Ruth.
Don't miss a word, one to the other. So the most disgusting sexual, perverted sexual, reprehensibly moral, and vicious act, showing the entire depravity of a nation, takes place in the last chapters of Judges. And that opens with the first chapter of Ruth. And so I'm here to tell you that Boaz was inserted. He's Noach again. He's inserted to save the nation. And he's going to be married to the same woman. This time she has a name. Her name is Ruth. She had to be imported from Moab because there wasn't a decent person in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
The story begins in the same place, by the way, Bethlehem. And what it shows is that for now the second time, God realized that there was no saving his people from themselves. He had to insert someone to do it, just as he had done with Noach. This time the person's name is Boaz. He's the same soul. That is why she is named the Amma, and that's why she declares that she is delivering the kinsman redeemer to him and through him. It's the same story. How about that?
Yeah. Wow.
Think of the implications of that. I don't think anybody's ever pondered the implications of that, of why these two stories are told that way.
So, right.
But there they are. And
That
of
it's-
course, they reappear at the darkest time, I think, for humanity, darker than the time that preceded the flood, darker than the time of Israel's rape and dismemberment of this girl. And that is when Dode started cursing God,
Mm-hmm.
because he's the only reason that the whole experiment keeps on going is God wants a son, and he turned on God. And guess what? The same people are reinserted at that point too, to save,
Right.
to deliver the kinsman redeemer. I'm noticing a pattern.
Right.
Yeah.
But
And here we are at the
those that-
end.
yeah, and here we have those that says, no, that's all nonsense. Not true. Okay. Have it your way. Good luck with that.
Yeah,
Got you speechless. We don't normally get there, Roger, speechless, but that one hit home there, pal.
That one hit home. Yeah, that was. I'm processing that. That's good. I mean, it's bad, but it's good.
It's bad, but it's really good.
It's really good. I mean, it produces the outcome we're getting ready to experience. We've experienced up to this point, and it's all
It
leading home.
reaffirms my number one conclusion, which is that God has this core of individuals that he has redeployed many times, and that his cast of characters are redeployed for a singular purpose and only at the most desperate times. Where if they were not redeployed at those times, we as humans would not be here now.
Yeah. It's like everything's falling into place. Everything's lining up. It's like coming in from different directions to one spot.
Yep. The most difficult deployment was then delivering Emmanuel as Ruth and Boaz and accompanying him through Passover and Matzah. It's hard to imagine a bigger ask from God. I'm not even sure God had to ask for it, because he had pretty high confidence that that's just how we were wired, that's what we would do. But it was still that's a tough situation there. And the toughest situation, we had to incite Rome to come after Dowd, our son. And for it all to play out on Passover and then be there beside him, and not only watch it occur, but it occurred to us at the same time. But, maybe that's not the toughest. Maybe this is the toughest. Because you're going against a world that not only has no interest in knowing what God has to say or what his plans are, but are ruthless to those who live those plans and share those plans. Ruthless.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about Israel and the poor harvest, how few of them are going to last, and how it's going to. That it really strikes me from the book of Ruth that they have to have a Naomi moment. They have to absolutely have nothing before they're going to turn around and come home to Yahweh. And
well, Naomi cursed God on her way in. She called God evil. And by the time it's done, she's rooting for Ruth, telling Ruth, "You get together with Boaz, and we can resolve this." And it did with Naomi. She came around. The men did not. The men accused Boaz as a man who was all excited over a woman who they called a prostitute. They used the story, which is one of the worst in the Torah, of how Yehud had sex with his daughter-in-law, incest. And they used that story to impugn him. Now, had I been on my game, I would have had the answer that I did not deliver at that time, but I can deliver now. When Yehud lied and said that Tamar was a prostitute and that she had committed adultery to get pregnant, because he did not recognize her when he paid to have sex with her. She proved that he was the father. And he came back with, "Then you are more righteous than I." And that's the line I would have used against the elders of Israel, that she is more righteous than you. That was the line unspoken. And maybe Boaz was just saying, I need to give you some cannon fodder for going forward. Use the line.
right.
I set it up for you. Use the line. And I will from the Temple Mount. When they continue to attack Leah, who is Ruth. she is more righteous than all of you.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the story of the Teba can be so powerful in its own, so full of understanding, of what the Torah is really about. Okay, what the whole idea of the Torah is about, and then for them to babble it up with elephants, and then and the whole world, and
the
then
depth of the story, it's not just saving the Salma man, Kevin. The depth of the story is who Noach and Shem represent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that father and son, because they are Yada and Dod. They are the characters as they go through God's entire story, and they're the ones who are there going to Abraham and Sarah saying, you're going to have a son, and it's going to be this miraculous insertion of a soul into her womb, which is exactly how these individuals are put in this position by God. And God says, yeah, it's the greatest of all miracles, what I'm doing here. And that explains the whole concept of redeployment of souls right there. And then 10 years later, they're accompanying Abraham and Yishak up Mount Moriah to be the first to ever understand how this event will ultimately serve as a dress rehearsal for what will happen exactly 40 Yobel after that point, 2,000 years, from 1968 BCE to 33 CE, when my son then, Shem, is Dod, and he serves as the Passover lamb, and I am beside him as his father. That is precisely what that story represents, and that was the last year of Noach's life. And when you put those pieces together, now you have one of the most revealing and important and enduring and enlightening stories humanity has ever encountered. And what did the people do? How did they respond?
Make it a fairy tale. They make it a fairy tale and mock it. It just
and they mock the person who's telling them the truth about it for the first time ever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Use it as a fairy tale to validate their false religion,
or their conspiracies, whatever it may be,
theories,
or their cults.
Yeah.
Oh my, this one here. Oh goodness. Oh my. Again, I want you to play a little bit of it. The kid that delivers it, I'm certain that he's over 12, but
this
maybe
is his
not
course.
much. Okay,
this is his.
Stop it. We'll go further. He does, and I'm kidding about his age here, but he is the kid that you'd say that the blogger is somebody in mom's basement, and he's about that age. He is absolutely spot on with this. He produces a spectacular video. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but it is utterly spectacular. I think this is posted on my X account. So anybody that's listening at yadaya.com, you go to the media page, you look at X, you look at the Craig Wynn X account, click it, you'll find it in my profile. And I would encourage you to do that. The blog page is currently not working for numbers of reasons. Facebook has gone conniption fit again. You know what Facebook did to me today that took down Facebook? There's a post of a Muslim woman talking about how suicide bombing is such a good thing. That the person who commits the suicide bombing doesn't feel any pain, and it's so joyous with Allah, the result of being a suicide bomber, when they get into heaven, that they want to do it all over again. And I post and say, Muhammad lied. That is not true. And I prove that it's not true in the following books. And before I could even post it, Facebook intervened and said, you have to prove who you are. And if you don't think you violated our rules, answer here. I went ahead and answered. I said, this is a post promoting suicide bombing. I think suicide bombing is a bad idea. I think that a book that promises people great joy for killing others is wrong. And I'm not afraid to say so. So you want to tell me you're in favor of suicide bombing? Or you are in favor of people rolling over and playing dead as opposed to standing up against these things? Is that what you're trying to say, Meta? And since then, I've not been able to make a single post on the new Facebook site after the old one was shut down for other stupidity. I mean, Meta's AI are so unbelievably stupid that it's hard to process how bad they can be. Anyway, this young man does a very nice job. So it's on X. That's why we're on X, not on Facebook today. And he not only exposes the Tates, Andrew Tate in particular, bragging about being a pimp, bragging about abusing women, but bragging about using the Trumps and being BFFs with Barron Trump. This is a raging anti-Semite. This is a misogynist. This is a man that is now wanted in England for a huge, like 20 different sex crimes. This is a man that in Romania, they wanted to prosecute, and America wouldn't extradite him to Romania because the Trumps interfered. Pedophiles, I guess, love pedophiles. Rapists love rapists. But the connection between Andrew Tate and X is deplorable. It's deplorable that X would sponsor someone like Andrew Tate on their platform, and he could be that popular. It tells you the users of X are scum, and that the management of X is scum, in league with the Andrew Tates. And it tells you the President of the United States is scum, as is his son.
Yeah.
And sons, the whole clan of them. So I let you play a little bit of this. It actually gets good way into it. We don't have enough time to play the whole thing, but it's, you know where it is now.
Course where he sex traffics.
Welcome to the Tate PhD course. If you've bought this course, which you obviously have, congratulations, you're going to change your life for the better.
That teaches basically how I got girls, how I met girls, how I got girls to like me, how I got girls to fall in love with me to work on webcam for me.
And I'm very close to the Trump family. I know them well, and I spoke to Barron after the incident.
All right, everybody, this is only getting worse and worse. Only a few days after sex traffickers Andrew and Tristan Tate were arrested in Miami, hauled away in handcuffs and shackles, and according to Polymarket, appeared in U.S. federal court this morning wearing prison uniforms, shackled at the waist and ankles as UK extradition proceedings begin. Only a few days later, we have uncovered more evidence that the Tate brothers have been helped by the Trump administration, that Donald Trump, Barron Trump, people like Elon Musk, Don Jr., a whole cabal in the Trump family and circle had been pushing Romania to relax their charges against the Tate brothers. That has allowed the Tate brothers to continue operating, continue working in Florida and Miami until they were arrested after Britain's Crown Prosecution Service authorized dozens of new criminal charges, 7 charges of rape, over 20 charges of alleged sex trafficking, another 19 charges or so of child pornography and insane porn. It's all absolutely absurd. And as you can expect, the worst people on the internet are running to their defense. Nick Fuentes said, it would be a national humiliation for the United States to allow the UK to extradite Andrew and Tristan Tate, 2 American citizens, over trumped-up Me Too charges. The same country that persecutes white people for speech while importing rapist migrants. What is this weird rhetoric? We literally have videos of Andrew and Tristan Tate admitting how they used to lure women to Romania. Then they would take away those women's passports, and then they would use that as an opportunity to push them into sex work and give them no other choice. That follows with human trafficking.
Extraditing the guy is a national humiliation. Not hanging the son of a bitch. I'm sorry, publicly.
He bragged about doing this. He's confessed to the crimes.
Yeah.
His rhetoric is so misogynist, so anti-women, so extreme anti-Semitism, so narcissistic that he is in the worst 20 people on the planet. And he's a buddy of Trump and Trump family and of Barron Trump and of Elon Musk. Oh, it's just when he talks about a cabal, this is the worst of what has happened to America. And X is so deep into this. that you just want to puke. And by the way, this thing gets really nasty. And he warns the young man that's hosting this. He warns. He says, "Now this is going to get really nasty." They talk about how they abused women. They admit it. They're you don't even need a trial. I mean, this is like, Donald Trump admitting that he sponsored Teen USA beauty pageant so he could walk in and abuse, take advantage of naked young girls, where he said he could grab a woman's pussy and she wouldn't, he could get by with it. He could murder somebody in broad daylight and not be accused of the crime, where he admitted that he and Epstein were best friends and were carousing together. I mean, convicted rapist. And this is America today. This is X today. These are the tech oligarchs today.
These are the lowest of the lowlifes today.
Yeah.
And it's
What
just,
they're
it's
doing,
good.
by the way, because he was living for the longest time in Bahrain, where slavery is acceptable, where abusing women is part of the religious culture, pedophilia is legal, rape is legal. So that's where he was for the longest time. But guess what? It isn't legal in the UK. It isn't legal in Romania, and it's not legal in the United States. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I'm just
I would
apparently.
encourage people and anybody that is listening to this, go to yadayah.com, go to the media page. You'll find the links to X. I would send it to Facebook, but Facebook is too stupid to be functional anymore. Go to the X page and the Craig Winnett X. There's a bunch of them, and you will find this under my profile. It's 30 plus minutes long. You should listen to it in terms of just how utterly reprehensible one of the most popular accounts on X has been. How X is promoting sexual slavery and rape and anti-Semitism, and how the Trump family is all entwined in this, including Barron. This is very, very serious stuff. So I congratulate this young man for bringing it. I've seen others of his presentations before, and I have a tendency just to turn them off just because of of what's happened to Gen Z in this country in terms of dumbing down Gen Z so they can't think. Well, he's a glorious exception to that. So my hat's off to him. Now I'm probably going to find out at some point that he's an anti-Semite too, and he's a Marxist, and that he has all sorts of other things that are wrong with him,
Right.
and that may be true. And if so, then I won't ever publish anything from him again. I can just say on this subject, and I only listened to the first 15 minutes of it, but on this subject, the young man did a really fine job of doing this. And I remember last week I was after the death of Lindsey Graham, and there was a Russian saying we're not going to grieve for him because of the horror that he imposed through his proxy war, claiming the best investment America ever made was arming Ukrainians to go kill Russians. And then Rich tells me, well, the guy's a raging anti-Semite. And I said, well, that's disappointing. I'm glad that we are acknowledging that he's a raging anti-Semite. He happened to get this one quote right. I won't make the mistake of using him even to make a valid point going forward. And that's really becoming difficult because there's so few sane people in the world today that aren't anti-Semites or Marxists or some other or overtly religious. It's tough to find them, and anyway, this at least through the first 15 or 20 minutes was really, really effective.
At the rate things are going, at the rate things are going, it's just going to be a book club here in the next 6 months. We keep losing people that were able to even have any sort of, hey, good job on social media.
Yeah, we just on that issue, we did ban 2 people that had signed up previously for the membership at the yadayah.com site. By the way, that is free, and when you sign up, then you can communicate with other family members, and you can participate in vlogs, and you can use the Ask Yada feature as well, and it costs you nothing. And but you got to play by our rules, Yahweh's rules, which means that if I were to ask you a few questions here, is it acceptable to be religious and be part of the covenant?
No.
So anybody that is still clinging to religious ideas that claims to be covenant would be lying, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it possible to be overtly political, where you are pursuing a political agenda as opposed to just condemning politics, and be a member of the covenant family?
No. Nope.
Does God tolerate those who are conspiratorial, such that you can promote conspiracies and be part of the covenant family?
Nope.
No, absolutely not.
So if you're doing any one of those things, no matter how much you may be mixing covenant speak in with your the conspiracies that you're clinging to, you would be you have written yourself out of the covenant family.
Oh,
and it is not
worse.
a revolving door.
Yeah, worse than writing yourself out of the covenant family. You're it's a ticket to Sheol. It's not just nothingness.
Yes, it is, because when you promote lies in Yahweh's name, and you co-mix lies with Yahweh's name, you are robbing credibility from God and for those who speak from him. The reason that we do not tolerate, and it's a red line, anybody to bring in religious lies, political mantras, or conspiracy into our presence is this giant sinkhole of credibility. And credibility is what God trades on. And it's what those who speak for him trade on. And when you do it, you are in absolute opposition to what God is trying to achieve. And so it's a red line. We won't tolerate it. We had one a week ago that wouldn't give up his fascination with the military. I'd warned him 3 or 4 times. And so have others that, his constant preoccupation with the military wasn't going to mix. We can be anti-military here, but you can't be pro-military here. And this other one is a person that I promoted that I thought was really smart, and that wrote well and spoke well and had such promise, but couldn't give up conspiracy, and was insistent in mixing conspiracy under Yahweh brand. I said, you can't do that. You can choose one or the other. You can be as conspiratorial as you want to be, just remove all the Yahweh branding. She wouldn't. In fact, she doubled down. So I just said goodbye. That's it. I tried. Now, I wrote a lot of letters. I took hours and hours and hours out of my weekend to try to help and reform this person. And unfortunately, I think they're going to take somebody with them. I don't seem to be able to reach them. And based upon what I've seen, they're doubling down on it too. And we're going to lose another. And by the way, this will sound harsh, but it's our reality. I am not going to chase after them. I can warn a person, and I will do that. This particular person that all 3 of these people, I have taken the time to write to say, I would appreciate you not doing that. This is not acceptable. Please stop. And explain the reasons why. And they wouldn't. So I took the time to try to counsel them. But when you make your decision, you make your decision. I'm not going to go chase after you. That was the whole thing we learned with the Mother Goddess cult. You want to go and pursue a lie, that is your choice. Go away. Just don't ever mention us again. If you mention us and you tie us into your lies in some way, we'll come right after you. We will defend our credibility, as we have done with the Mother Goddess cults and torn them to ribbons. But With the others, just go away, and you'll never hear from us again. But you pursue this agenda, and you will.
Mm-hmm.
And you will go from unnamed to named. And right now you're unnamed. So yes, it's been a telling experience this weekend and a couple of days thereafter. But I can tell you that, as Rich said yesterday privately after the show, that every time we have such a situation, we're always in the midst of translating something that speaks directly to it.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the midst of translating Isaiah 10, and that brought us directly to the last chapters of Judges, and they speak directly to this and why it's unacceptable, and why we have to be bold enough to say no. You can't, particularly now.
Mm-hmm.
God's going to eliminate everyone who is conspiratorial, everyone who is religious, everyone who is political. They will not exist on this planet 7 years from now.
Yeah.
And those who were pulled away and fooled, their souls will simply cease to exist. And those who have actively promoted the lie, their souls will continue to exist, but separated from the rest of us in a place called Sheol. So it's a very dangerous thing that they're on. And I'm not compromising, nor is God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we shouldn't. I don't think you were harsh enough. I think, sorry. I'm not chasing after anybody. It's an absolute distraction. When I'm taking cattle from the field down to the barn, I lead and I walk, and the cattle follow me because I'm banging the corn bucket. Now, if the young calves want to run off in the woods, guess what? At some point, they're going to come down to the barn because they're going to get hungry. So just let them go. I'm not running through the woods, chasing them and trying to keep everybody. No. This is where I'm going, and you're coming with me because this is the best place to be.
Yeah. Now, the only issue with your metaphor is that those who are running away here aren't going to come back.
No, they're not. No.
This is not a revolving door. We're not keeping the barn door open for them. They're not going to come back.
Yeah.
But
it's just, I think of all the time that we wasted this weekend trying to be kind,
helpful.
Yes.
And then I got absolutely blasted by one of the most vile responses I've ever seen from anyone. This person who wrote so eloquently just absolutely loses it and vomits all over themselves. And what they wrote was not only discombobulated, but vile.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take one of my translations, they remove it from context, they truncate it, and then they negate the very point they were making by erasing Yahweh's name and replacing it with YHWH, even Dode with DWD.
Yeah.
And let me just to be really clear here. You can write Yahweh's name if you want to transliterate it as Yahweh in English, Yahweh. Or you can convey Yahweh's name if you're writing in Hebrew using the Hebrew alphabet. But to write YHWH is wrong in every possible way. It's not a transliteration, and you're not writing it as it was written in Hebrew. Those are not Hebrew letters. You either write it correctly as it was written in Hebrew to a Hebrew audience so that you can speak and communicate in Hebrew to a Hebrew audience so that they can say it and read it, or you write in English, in which case you transliterate it. There is no justification for what the Mother Goddess cult is doing with going back to Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh as a YHWH. You cannot do that. That is wholly unjustified. That is nullifying Yahweh's name. It is an unforgivable crime, as highlighted in the third statement that Yahweh etched in stone. No, it's wrong. And this individual negated the very claim that she made by truncating my citation of a Mizmor by writing the first thing she wrote right underneath it, negating Yahweh's name. No, this is dead wrong. And Is there the possibility that this woman is going to come to her senses and say, what I did was wrong. I will never pursue a conspiracy again. I will go off of Facebook. I want another chance to be helpful and participate. Is there that possibility? Yeah, I guess, occasionally the stray cow comes back home, doesn't it? Occasionally. A possibility, yes. Would you ever say I'd have the same level of trust? Of course not.
No.
I've talking about the Mother Goddess cult, and there is only one of those people that I would try to keep out of Shield, because I'm loyal to a fault, and this person did a lot of good. And so I would say I do not want them going to Shield. Would I openly embrace them coming back into our community? Would I would allow it? Yes. Would I ever trust them again? No, not ever. So I could say the same thing in this case. This is somebody that made a contribution, went off the deep end. I'm not going to play arbitrator and say what you did has forever distanced yourself from Yahweh. But I can say what you did is distance yourself from Yahweh. And it will take a lot, more than I think you have, to resolve that. That's my view on it. But is there the possibility? Well, we've never heard from Jackie again, so I don't think that she's ever going to come to her senses. For old time's sake, I hope she does. I don't think she will. As for this person, she might. She's a bright lady. She might. But I can agree with you that we invested a lot of time to have shit thrown in our faces.
Yeah.
So trust is shattered.
A lot of other stuff could have been accomplished.
Trust is, But Nate, listen, I don't actually regret the time spent, because I think that it's always wise to try. And I also think it's wise, particularly with somebody who has previously made a contribution, like the man that left because he was so sure of himself and all of his military prowess. He never made a contribution of anything that was helpful. So, I really didn't care. It was just annoying. Right. And I wasn't even the one that said goodbye. Somebody else that was annoyed by him said goodbye. So I lost no time in it, other than I had tried previously to rectify the situation, obviously failed. In this case, I'm glad that I tried. It's just like with the Jackie incident. I'm very glad that I invested scores of hours trying to reason. I will never regret having done that. I regret her not responding intelligently, but I will never regret the time. And I don't even regret it when we have those who are in a position to know respond like we see people on X with, for example, the Andrew Tate situation. I don't let that bother me, because I know that it's an essential part of the job. My job is to model the attitude and behavior and response that Yahweh was looking for. And I never get deployed in easy situations. They go from enormously difficult to damn near impossible. And so the very sign that he found somebody that was willing to endure that kind of stuff and survive it and to continue to perform in the midst of it is evidence that I am who he says I am. So you don't prove yourself because everything turns out perfect. I would have to say that there were times, Roger, when you were a fireman or when you were a hard hat diver, when things went bad. And when things went bad and how you responded when things went bad, that demonstrated your character.
Oh, absolutely. Multiple times things went sideways. I call them sideways. And you gotta figure out why, and you gotta figure out why fast. And so it's your experience that comes in to get yourself out of situations like that. But yeah, it was dicey there a couple times. I mean, real dicey. So yeah, I agree. And people like we're talking about, I hate to say this, but it seems like there's got to be more the closer we get.
I think so.
As it gets down to the final few. There's no number for the final few, but few means few.
Yeah.
So
I think it's going to be very lean.
Yeah.
And I think it's lean for a lot of reasons, Roger. First, let me just speak to your point. I don't think we can respond effectively in the moment and make the right decision unless we are tremendously prepared, unless we have invested the time to learn the material that we must study, whether it be hard hat diving, firefighting, or Yara. Unless we have that foundation of knowledge and understanding and have been tried and tested in prior times so that, and even rehearsed for these things, you don't prevail in a situation that is that threatening unless you're prepared. You don't get lucky. It's because you were prepared. You were ready for it.
Exactly.
So that's I just want to speak to that because this didn't happen by accident.
No, and it's a combination of training and experience.
Yeah. As you speak of the number of people for the harvest and the final remnant being few, which is the conclusion that I have come to. I think they're few for a lot of reasons. One reason is God doesn't like people very much. And a lot of people he likes not at all. That when people become many, he has been burned so many times that he's just tired of people becoming many because we become universally evil. So fewer people is far more favorable to God than many people. Second is that what he is trying to elevate the Shabua harvest team to is a really tough damn job. It's a tough job. It'll be a fun job, but it's a tough job. We work as a team in support of those two witnesses through Teruah. And Teruah is the most amazing day in universal history, and it's also the toughest damn day in universal history. I mean, you're going to have billions of people that are going to be eradicated on Teruah. And you're going to have the most gruesome sacrifice in the history of the world on Teruah. It's going to be a really rough day, and you're going to be playing to an audience that's going to be spitting in your face the entire time that you're trying to save them. They're going to be spitting in your face. There are not a lot of people that are going to be ready for that. That is way, way beyond what most people are ready for. And the last thing we need is a distraction among the core group where we're going to be looking behind our backs and somebody is doing an all-foldo at that time. You know, somebody wants to bail out now because of a conspiracy theory or whatever it is that they want to prioritize, their love of the military. They want to do that now. Yeah, okay. We lose a little time. We take care of it, and it's goodbye. Then we don't have that kind of time. We don't have that kind of patience. We don't have that. That is not going to work. And so everybody that has our back had really better be prepared. They had better be, as Roger was, experienced, having rehearsed what is going to happen, and be resilient and be ready. So I think that is few people. We could get it done with 8. 80 would be marvelous. But if you're getting, into the hundreds, I'm not sure that we have anywhere close to north of 100 people prepared for this. Vetted by Yahweh, trained, prepared, equipped, ready. I just do not see it. I'd be delighted with 80.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, Teruah is a big day. Don't get me wrong. Okay, it is one day. It is a sprint. It is the whole culmination, right? 3 years on that Temple Mount. 3 years.
1,250 days.
50. Yes, that is a grind. That is every day. Wake and do it again. Wake up the next
being
morning,
attacked, being spit at, people
constantly
trying to kill you. That you're trying to awaken and save every day, surrounded by religious and political And you're going to have Satan incarnate's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's going to be particularly for Israel, which is not going to change, and it's going to be like pulling teeth to get that final remnant.
Yeah,
it's going to be really, really tough battle.
Mm-hmm.
And Leah we were talking about her the introductions that she and you and others have put together, working together. And I said, Leah, one of the things I've noticed is you're a lot more prominent in these introductions to the show than you were
Mm-hmm.
any place else. And I said, you are very important to me and you're very important to this story, but you're not made for this. Now, I was made for this.
Mm-hmm.
When you're prominent, you are kicked, you're spit at, you are treated like, well, the mother goddess cult treats me. That is how you're treated. That's how I'm treated on Facebook and X. That is how you're treated. How I was treated trying to help somebody this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I said, so I don't think she's built for that. She is too badly hurt when the people she's trying to help turn on her. And I've had lifetimes of it. So I've said, I'm happy that you're taking that role and coming out and showing yourself for who you are, but you need to know that you have opened a window here, and you don't like being vulnerable in this way, and that's what you're doing. So she was talking about creating the one for the luminaries, and I said, I'm delighted. My preference is to have your picture along with mine there. That's my preference. But you got to know what you're putting yourself into.
Mm-hmm.
This is the hardest job that's ever been done. So.
Well, to that point, there's no other man alive today anywhere in this world that could do this job except you.
No, that's true.
You've got the training. You've had the training and experience all the way along, until it's culminating now and for the next few years.
Yeah, and I don't say that in a you're not saying that in a flattering way, and I'm not saying it in a braggadocious way. It's just the simple reality of it. There is no one else on earth that has ever met the qualifications that God has outlined, and the person that He's chosen to do this.
Just a fact.
Yeah, just a fact. Deal with reality. God made this choice for a reason. He's very happy with his choice.
Mm-hmm.
And you might say, well, he should have been able to get somebody better, and I might agree with you. He should have.
Or somebody that
wasn't
fits our idea of what this
Yeah.
person should act like, right? They should be so humble, and they should just be so loving and caring and just want everybody and so
I
outgoing,
can tell you
right?
that that humble and modest wouldn't get this done.
No.
Tolerant is not what he's looking for.
Mm-mm.
No. This individual actually has the responsibility in the end as he emerges from that gruesome slaughter on Teruah. And he rises up now as his nefesh, soul, and nesama in light and energy. And he rises from that fire that Yahweh has ignited. He rises as a sword of flame.
Mm-hmm.
And he is afforded the Saba. The Saba report to him. And they go canvass the world and they eliminate all of the conspiratorialists, all of the religious, all of the political, all of the militant, everyone who has worked against them, Israel, Yahweh, or Dode. They eliminate them all. You talk about a tough job. And then it's not over then, because then they have to judge those who are going to Sheol and those who have to face recompense before going to Sheol, and make the people who've been abused by them available to watch them endure recompense to get closure on what they did to them. And then you're the primary teacher and exemplar of the 1,000 years that go after this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want to sign up for this? Yeah. 12, 14 hours a day for 30 into 33 years, plus another 1,000 after it. Come on down. Yeah, come on down. Sign right up. If somebody wants to, step in, I am more than willing to go on
Just
vacation.
Just show
I'll
me
pat
your
him on the
sandal,
back,
right?
Give him the big thumbs up. I'll toss in the sandal, and you go, girl. You go, guy.
All right.
You go. But you better fulfill every one of the
Anybody?
check boxes that Yahweh has for this person, and you better do your homework. You better be prepared, and then you need to find out just how difficult the job is. Moshe's job was easier than this one, and he told God to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually looking forward to the intensity increasing. If that
I
seems
think it
kind
will.
of,
Yeah.
kind of weird.
Me too.
It's
Yeah, me
exciting
too.
to see
Yeah,
where
me too.
we're headed.
Yeah, me too. I think that well, I have looked at 1,250 days of this and say, oh, and then to know that every day you get closer to the end, you get to the point where you're going to have to suffer the most gruesome
Mm-hmm.
massacre ever, and the way that you're going to be killed. That's pretty gut wrenching. And that the people and the people you're dying for don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to tell you, well, I would agree with you that I think I would rather do that than what I'm doing right now. I think I'd rather do that than what I'm doing right now. So I agree with you that the increasing the magnitude of the situation is appealing from that point of view, because it's really coming to a head, and that this is an extraordinary. And the difference too will be, God is overtly involved. He's going to lift the tablets of stone. He's going to show the Aron of the Bereth. He is going to destroy the dome of the Hufi print and the Alaska Mosque. He's going to erect the tent of the witness. He's going to have the jumbotron above us, streaming all manner of things from Yada Yahweh and the Yahweh blog. And he's going to bring Elia back to be entertaining. And then, of course, as we move closer to the day, he's going to become very involved miraculously in the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
So coordinating with God in a miraculous way, I think will be extraordinary. So, Roger, I agree with you, but to be in that situation, I want to be only surrounded by people I have absolute and unequivocal trust in. That's when God said, we're going to rebuild this team from scratch, and you're going to start over. That's what we did. And you have to have a group. Now, it's not all men, and it's not all old. Old men seem to be a preference for God. There are some young men that are part of this, several young men that are really devoted to not several, quite a few, many young people, men and women that are committed. And there's one woman besides, in addition to Leah, that is, boy, does she have her act together. So there are some that I would say I would go into that situation absolutely confident that they're going to represent Yahweh, Dode, Israel, humanity, and me appropriately. And that's what you need. I cannot survive this alone. Mm-hmm. Not even just if it was just you, Yahweh, and I. This time it takes a team.
Yeah.
That's why we're having the Shabuah harvest. That's why we have this time now. That's why we decided, we're not looking for anybody else to join the covenant family. If you do, that's your call. Great. And you're welcome. But, we're not trying to increase our numbers or subscriptions or followers or anything of that nature. All we're trying to do now is to equip the core group so you're ready. Oh, there we are. On most of these pictures, Dode's been, I'm 6 feet, and Dode has been more in the 5'10" range. But this time, I'm looking up to my son. He's Natalie attired. Leah just loves that jacket, and in that scene, I think it works pretty well. It is important for Dode to be regal, and it's important for me to be me. Yes, I serve as his father. I serve really as his conscience in a very important way. guide and support her and that sort of thing. But I don't ever want to be perceived as regal. I don't ever want to be perceived as anything other than he's my kid. I love him. I support him. He's God's firstborn son. He's the reason we're all here. Let's appreciate him. Let's protect him. Let's help him. And let's yada yada together. And so I think that field of barley and the yada yada script there, and Dode standing tall, and his dad just proud of him, and not trying to impress anyone, just being him, which is good enough for God. I just love the look of that. And of course, it takes you to yadayada.com. And Leah is the one that posted this. She posted it because we had somebody that was advancing the perfect myth. And God's not looking for perfect. Looking for perfect, then Dode would be done, and so would I. And God would have to do himself in, because he's not perfect either. And that's something the religious can't process. But no, God's not perfect. The prophets aren't even perfect. God's testimony is not perfect. His creation of man was definitely imperfect. So, and that's a good thing, because if any one of us were perfect, then there'd be no room to grow. Be nothing to achieve in life, nothing to explore, nothing to learn, no way to develop a meaningful relationship. So it's the imperfections that actually put us in the right position. So she was the one who wrote what I have copied and pasted here. Those being chosen to work with Yahweh does not mean that one is perfect. There is nothing in this world that is perfect. Not even Yahweh is perfect. I mean, God openly stated, I regretted having created man. If you're perfect, you don't create something that you regret. And God does not seek perfection. Yahweh created us, and there is beauty in that design. Every artist knows that beauty has asymmetry. Spoken like a true fashion designer and photographer and brand manager.
It's beautiful.
So did we get the mouse situation worked out? Are we going to have a luminaries today with we're going back to Sodom and Amorah, right?
You know, we've got Roger in the circle today rather than Rich in the circle today, so we have not been able to ask him. But Rich is pretty squared away as the producer. Rich, during that show, when I was having the trouble with it, he was able to run the show and Google mouse malfunctioning 850-page book using this version 365 of. And so he put in the whole scenario and said, "Oh yeah, very common problem. It's a Microsoft bug." And so
it's better. And I tested again this morning. It's working still this morning. So
okay, so it's better. He says it's better this morning. That's encouraging. We're going to do one regardless. And my view is that if the technology is working against you, admit it. Laugh about it, and do the best you can going forward. There's no reason to try to hide it. I remember there was a situation with Dan Rather, who was after Walter Cronkite did the evening news for CBS, and something went awry on his set. So what he did is, rather than laugh through it and say, "Okay, we have a technical problem here. I'm going to do the best I can. Just put up with me. I'm letting you know what's going on here, but we'll make it through here." He got up and had a 3-minute dead air space because he went up and had a tizzy fit. That's not the appropriate approach. You deal with it and you make light of it.
I'm having the tizzy fit in the background quietly.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
okay,
you're having enough tizzy fit for everybody.
For the
throwing stuff.
Yeah, I happen to love this particular image of the 9 books that are part of the Yada Yada series, which are just one of 6 series of books free at the Yada Yada library. And of course, the message is listen, learn, and live.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're at 2 hours. I think that's that's
That's a
enough.
short
That's
version.
enough show for today. I really do want to cut the show down to a shorter period of time. I think it'd be better for everybody. But there's lots to talk about today. Roger B, you're doing great with your show. Thank you for your contribution and the fact that you're a regular on this show. Love you like a brother. And Kevin, you are the glue that keeps this whole thing together. And we're looking forward to having more shows where we get Rich as the man in the circle, who has this all working for us in terms of producing these programs. And keep in mind, our programs are for our family. We are here to equip the family such that they are prepared for what's coming, and what's coming is going to be really tough duty. And then, of course, it ends with really extraordinary duty as we get to celebrate the return to the garden for that final remnant, and we get to go explore and celebrate the universe with Yahweh. So this is a story that has a happily ever after ending. So thank you all. Good day.
Thank you.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.